sure what happened. My phone just went, for some reason, the stream just cut out. Please accept my apologies for that. I will do my best to make a note. I was having a really good time too. It was really fun. All right. Well, there we go. Very sorry about that. I'll make a note, like I said, on the video. Not sure why it died out. Yeah, I know. So I apologize. Hello, Jason. I apologize for that. I'm not sure why it went dead. I was trying to fix it. For some reason, it wasn't working, but we're back. We're here now. I apologize for that, but thank you to everybody who was joining me. I appreciate that. Richard, you're both early and late. I was streaming, and then my stream went dead for some reason. So I came back on nonetheless. Thank you for being here. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. I was watching the Canada-USA sled hockey game. Very sad to report that the Canadians lost. So I owe some people a bottle of whiskey, but that's okay. We will, I owe some Americans some whiskey. But hey, we're back. Consider doing a super chat, consider doing a like, consider hitting the subscribe button. Let's give it some time and let's see who joins. Technology is just great when it works, right? When it doesn't work, it's a pain. Hello, Gooey. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. And my apologies to anybody who missed my last stream or when the last stream went dead. I don't think there was anything in the stream that was problematic, so I'm not sure why it went out, but there you go. Yucatan, welcome back. Very sorry for the stream going dark. Yes, I agree with that completely. Brotherhood is incredibly important, so. And thank you for being here. Don't forget, you can also leave some gifts, maybe some lucky clovers in honor of upcoming St. Patrick's Day. But let's give it some time and let's see who joins. Welcome. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. No, Freemasonry is not what you think it is, clearly. Thank you. I wore my red to support my Canadian sled hockey brothers. I don't play sled hockey. My Canadian sled hockey team, which was not able to defeat the Americans, sadly. So we lost, which means I now owe, I now owe a bottle of whiskey and a commemorative coin to a couple different people, including Michael Moore. Freemasonry is not connected to Skull and Bones. They are separate organizations. I was thinking of tobogganing is awesome. I would hope that you would toboggan because tobogganing is a super fun, awesome Canadian thing to do, especially in winter. Well, I guess exclusively in winter. Hello, Light Free. Welcome back. Thank you for being here also. Very sorry for the stream going dead, but I hope you're doing well. Oh, Canada, indeed. Although we did not win the tournament, but that's okay. They're just keeping our medals shiny for us. 4 years from now, we'll get them back. Although I will say, for America, that would be a clean sweep of hockey. Won the men's, won the women's, and won the sled hockey. My favorite meal. So if I were to do a last meal, right, I would go with what would I go with? I would go with raw oysters with the different types of sauces and with lemon, of course. I would go with a charcuterie board with all sorts of different types of meats, cheeses, olives, pickles. I would go with antipasto. I'd go with pickles. I'd go with a glass bottle of Coca-Cola. I would also go with a slice of blueberry pie and a cup of coffee and a slice of peach pie and a cup of coffee. So there you go. I'm not a big fan of pesto pizza, but okay. I don't know Yucatan, but it does. Without question, it does. I'm not sure why. What was the good question? Well, I think I missed the question. What was it? I've never drank a beer. I've never had any beers before. Never drank any alcohol before. So there you go. I mean, I like pesto. I like pesto as a general rule, whether it be on pizza or any other way. I think it's great. Um, I mean, who doesn't like pesto? I don't smoke weed either. Never done any of that stuff. I keep myself very, very boring. Well, this Canadian does not. Very sorry to disappoint. No, you don't need to drink to take part in any Masonic events or promotions. However, whether you drink alcohol or not, you do still at times need to go to the washroom, which is this is one of those times right now. So, well, make sure you're very careful and make sure you're maybe not doing them. This is my co-host. You can name him if you'd like. I need to go to the washroom like crazy. I'll be back in one moment, though. I'm back. I hope you enjoyed my co-host, and for the time being, let's just wait to see who joins. Once again, any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? We'll just hang out for a bit. Once again, never drank a beer at Light Free. As I was saying, we're just hanging out, chatting, talking about Freemasonry. I don't do a ton of Sunday streams, but I was, here anyways, so why not? Cloves are great antibacterial. I'm sure they are. Yes, we are. We made it back. So Zero Factor, how's it going? Very sorry my stream cut out. What are you going to do? By the way, I just found out Riding the Bullet is on Riding the Bullet is on Tubi. If you don't know, Tubi is one of my favorite streaming service, and it's completely free. Riding the Bullet is a great movie based on a very good book by Stephen King. So I would recommend you check it out. And it's completely free, so why not, What do you have to lose? Is it scary? I mean, yeah, it's Stephen King, right? So it's definitely scary, but it's not, it's not you couldn't handle it. I don't think. And it's not gory. So it's psychologically scary, right? But it's not gory or it's not like Saw or anything like that, which I really do like. I'm not, I enjoy Saw, for example. I like a lot of those movies, but I do prefer more psychological horror. Or actually, my favorite thing is just slashers, just fun, enjoyable slashers. Like, I really love Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Streets. All of those, in my opinion, are the best. Leprechaun, they're really fun. Well, let's not get into Nerf wars. Let's have no wars. No wars at all. Dorkly, please hit like and subscribe. I'm happy to be the missing link. You are Rusty Nails. What are your questions about Freemasonry? Now, I can speak exclusively for myself. I've been a Freemason for 20 years. I'm, proud to be a Freemason. I can give you my experiences, my opinions. I don't speak for all of Freemasonry, though. I don't believe we're living through the death of the dollar. I think we're definitely living through some, shall we say, interesting times. We're going to see what happens. But I think human beings have demonstrated, to our credit, a pretty incredible ability to survive and make it through a lot of very challenging times. I will say for the war in Iran, there are many Masons in the Middle East. I'm hoping for their safety as well as the safety of everyone. We'll see what happens. The whole war in Iran, right? People don't realize how much Freemasonry there is in the Middle East. How much Freemasonry there is in the Middle East. It exists in Lebanon. It exists in Jordan. It exists in Iran. Like, Freemasonry it exists on many military bases throughout the Middle East. Freemasonry is an incredibly important part of the Middle East. Again, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, military bases around the world. There's the Grand Lodge of Iran in Exile, which is currently in Los Angeles. So, Yeah, King Solomon is an incredibly important part of Freemasonry. Not so much King Solomon himself as King Solomon's Temple. But he is an important figure within Freemasonry, not in a literal sense, in a apocryphal or metaphorical sense. All of Freemasonry, ultimately, it's metaphorical. You need to keep that in mind. But yes, figuratively, speculatively, yes, absolutely. But that's true for Freemasonry in general, right? What Freemasonry is ultimately is it's figurative. It's figurative lessons is a thing you need to keep in mind and remember, right? It's metaphor, it's allegory. But through these metaphor and through these allegory, there are ethical lessons that we derive, which can help us build and help us build into better people and potentially, in some ways, create and build a better world around us. I do not know. We don't queue jump. We shouldn't queue jump. If I was a Freemason and people let me jump the queue because I was a Freemason, I would be disappointed and I would not accept it. We should be part of society, not jumping the queue of society, if that makes sense. How much time a week or month? I mean, it depends. There's really no answer to that because every Mason will set his own schedule for better or worse. And look, it's perfectly fine. You can have this debate. Freemasonry expects its membership to prioritize their family, their work, their deity, even their life in some ways, in like all of that stuff, their medical issues, obviously, above Freemasonry. So for somebody like me, part of it is because I just love it, and part of it is because I don't have a family. I dedicate, 20 hours a week to Freemasonry, maybe more. If you want to count this channel, then it's, 40 to 50 hours a week with all the stuff I do on this, which is about Freemasonry. Other members, they join and then they pay their dues every year and you never see them, right? And so it really is completely dependent on every Mason to set aside whatever time he thinks is appropriate. I don't even know if I could say on average. I would say on average every lodge has 2 meetings per month. The typically to be a dedicated Freemason, I would say you're attending at least once a month would be a sign of a really dedicated Mason, and you're spending about 3 hours per month doing it. Based on the fact that there are some who, like me, are at the Masonic Lodge meeting 5 nights a week of different lodges. Others, you may see them once every 5 years. Um, the four Vedas, Christianity, the Torah, and the Quran all teach about the architect, but you limit me with a ban if I spoke about the architect fully. Well, then don't speak about the architect fully. My channel, my stream, my rules. Um, and don't forget, Freemasonry is not a religion. So we are not Christian. We are not the Torah. We are not the Quran. We are rather our own civic institution or civic group. Now, to be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. However, I would not put us in the category of any particular religious belief or religious faith. I understand why many people do. It's a lot of misinformation out there. And also because you must believe in a supreme being, a lot of people take that to mean we're religious, but we're not. Um, well, I'm no fan of Trump, but if you consider it to be Trump-like behavior, then, so be it, I suppose. Once again, if you're just joining, please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and thank you all for being here. No, Adam Budnick, Freemasons do not worship Satan. Freemasonry is not a religion. We're not worshiping Satan or any other figure. It's not a theology, right? That's not what we are. That is not what we are all about. We're not worshiping Satan. Very sorry to disappoint. Despite what you may have seen on social media. We're going to keep hanging out. Wait to see who joins. Once again, please take the moment, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're having an excellent day. And I hope you're having a very enjoyable Sunday. Like I said, normally I don't do streams on, at least not streams this long on a Sunday. But you know what? I figured why not? I'm here anyways. I enjoyed watching the game, even though sadly Canada lost. That's okay. We'll get him next time. It was still awesome to see you to be here with everybody. So for me, so there is no Masonic. I'm not sure. There is no Masonic POV, right? The Supreme Being, that's between the individual Mason and, so he may be Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh. It's perfectly fine, right? Whatever he believes, that's perfectly okay. That's not what Freemasonry is about. Is telling people what to believe or having a point of view on what to believe. They're free to believe what they want. I can tell you what my point of view is. My belief is my supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and through geometry. In Ontario, I'm going to speak specifically for us. There's three attributes, I guess, you have to have. You have to believe in a supreme being. You have to believe that supreme being has made its will known to man, and you have to believe that that supreme being favors virtue. And if you can say yes to all three of those things, then you can join. Now, again, for me, my supreme being is the rational nature of the universe. I believe that nature has made its will known to man through geometry and through science and through every time we make an observation backed up by science. And I believe it favors virtue because I define virtue as to live in accordance with nature. Every time we use any type of scientific or geometric discovery to better exist in the world, to solve some problem, that is us living in accordance with nature. So there you go. Was Jesus, I'm not a theological expert. I'm the worst person to be asking about that. I will say, in some ways, you've made two mistakes. PMUREU. Freemasonry is not a religion, so I can't speak to what Jesus was or wasn't. And Freemasonry is not political. Socialism is a political question. So we would not be able to ask that question in Lodge. Outside of Lodge, I can speak for myself personally and say it seems as though Jesus had, from what little I understand it, a lot of teachings that seem to be more on the left of the political spectrum, but that is coming from a very general and not a very precise understanding of religion. So take what I say with a huge grain of salt. We're just going to hang out and wait to see who joins. Thank you all for being here. It's been a longer stream than normal, but it's been a lot of fun. Again, I used to do 24-hour streams. I'm probably going to do one of those again on the 21st of March. So I hope you guys will join me for at least one of those. And for now, we're just going to wait to see who joins. Tim, I hope I've given you some good answers. Once again, please keep in mind that I'm giving you my opinions. And also, Freemasonry is decentralized. There is no single governing body for Freemasonry. Rather, every Masonic jurisdiction has its own rules and its own sets of understandings. But let's give it some time. Let's see who joins. We are, like I said, it's been a very fun stream. And we're just going to wait to see who else joins. I'm not getting any comments right now. I'm not sure if it's just people are. So Tim, I mean, I'm guessing you're not a Freemason based on the questions, but have you ever thought about joining Freemasonry? Do you just have more questions about it? What are your kind of thoughts about being a Freemason or Freemasonry in general? Well, we don't create secrecy because Freemasonry is not about the holy architect. I mean, that would be, I mean, we use the term architect a lot, but again, Freemasonry is not a religion. If you're looking to know more about the I don't know what the word to use is. If you're looking to learn more about the um, great architect, the holy architect, pick your term. That's a religious consideration. Cameron, how you doing? Yeah, well, I came on this morning because I was doing a stream to talk about or to watch the Canadian versus American sled hockey gold medal game. Sadly for me, Canada lost, so I now owe a couple people some gifts, some the fruits of the wager. Having said that, I just kept on streaming because I had people coming in, so it was fun. Still here hanging out now. So let's see who joins. And don't forget, Poke, March 28th, I will have your coin for you. And I look forward to seeing you. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Windsor Masonic Temple Community Services Fair. That is true. We all do lose sometimes, unfortunately. But if there were no losers, there would be no winners. So nice. I look forward to it. Don't forget, admission is free. But if you want some coffee, there is $2 for a bottomless cup. So you can grab some coffee while you're there. You will be banned if you start to provide the third degree ritual, at least the ritual as you understand it. I don't know if it's correct or not, but either way, if it's incorrect, all you're doing is giving people a false impression of Freemasonry. And if it's correct, then they should join to find that out. And all you're doing is creating spoilers for them. What's for dinner? Rabbit. I'm honestly got some roasted potatoes with cheese, salami, and chips for a snack. So sorry about this, guys. I just got to get my phone. Come on. Back here set up. Let's see. Oh, there we. I hate this stupid charger. Oh. Sorry about this, guys. There we go. But yes, I've got some roasted potatoes with cheese, some luncheon meat, some prosciutto, pickles, olives. It's going to be a very, very good lunch. I'm looking forward to it. So my role, so Master Mason isn't really, oops. To be a Master Mason, it's not really a role. At least I wouldn't use the term role to describe it. It's a degree. It's the third degree. It's the highest year within Freemasonry. The worshipful master, that actually has a specific role. For the worshipful master, you are responsible for the governance of the lodge. Really, what you're responsible for is to make sure that your lodge is functioning as appropriately, right? So it's not that you get to tell the lodge what to do, but rather you need to make sure that the lodge itself is functioning within all of the guidelines of its bylaws and the Constitution. So, for example, if there's a vote on a motion, the worship master does not get to decide how the vote goes, but what the worship master does do is make sure the vote is done in accordance with all of the rules, bylaws, and Constitution of Grand Lodge. Hello, Lancelot. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and let me know how your day is going. But it's going to be a very good dinner, especially because I skipped lunch, which means now I get to be very hungry. But that's okay. A little bit of hunger is not so bad. But take asked Baz, to be a Freemason, or to be a Master Mason, what it does mean is it does open you up to take on more roles within a lodge. For example, you will be able to actually become a worshipful master. You will be able to become an officer, a warden, a junior warden, a senior warden, whatever it might be. So, and we're back to hanging out, back to waiting to see who wants to join. Once again, hit that like button and the subscribe button. Iran versus America. Has the war stopped? Rush. I can just call you Rush. I did not hear that the war had stopped. If it did, I'm very happy. Honestly, I don't really care what stopped it. I'm just happy it stopped. According to CNN, what I see here is Trump admin Israel indicate Iran fighting will continue for weeks. Israeli military plans for at least 3 more weeks of operations, as Trump says he's not ready to make deal with Iran. Average price of gas per gallon in the U.S. has increased by 72 cents since February 28th. I mean, would that I could Russian Dange? I'm going to call you Rush. I wish I could stop the war very, very much. There's a lot of Freemasons in the Middle East. I would hate to see any of them like in harm's way. I'm a member of a Masonic Lodge in Israel, so my Sunday is going well. Do Freemasons? No, we do not. Freemasons make no claims about the afterlife. That's not what Freemasonry is all about. So that's a foolish question. You should know better. Freemasonry is not a religion. My Sunday is going well, Lancelot. How is your Sunday going? I will try to speak slower. Sometimes I absolutely can speak too quickly. I'll work on it. I mean, maybe, hopefully. I don't care if it's India. I don't care who it is. I would very much love it if the war were to stop, obviously. I think everybody would. Um, I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen in the future, right? We don't know what is going to potentially stop this war, but I really don't want to. Obviously, like I said, I'm a member of a Masonic Lodge in Israel, Lodge Holy Land number 50 out of the Grand Lodge of Israel. It's in Tel Aviv. I don't want any of my Masonic brothers in harm's way. There's Freemasonry in Jordan. There's Freemasonry on military bases. There's the Grand Lodge of Iran in exile. So, as do many other religions. They might not always use the term architect, but sure. So far, it's good. Well, if you want to make it even better, Lancelot Amore, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe, and consider doing super chat. Even 99 cents helps out big time in terms of people hanging out. So, in terms of engagement, I should say. So, help a brother out. And thank you all for being here. Again, day did not start out great for me because our Canadian sled hockey team did not take the gold medal. I say poor as though silver is an absolutely incredible, and that those sled hockey players, whether it's gold or silver or bronze, or even in the Olympics, are not world-class athletes. I think they're going to be just fine. Still, wish Canada had won. I wore my red shirt in honor of Canada, so. I don't limit you speaking about scripture. I do limit you speaking about Freemasonry. Freemasonry is not scripture. Our Masonic ritual books are not scripture. You need to understand that. I have no idea. Satoshi Nakamoto, I don't know who it is. I do think one of the greatest, and by far one of the maybe the most consequential decisions of the last 100, 200 years economically was not so much the creation of Bitcoin, but the fact that Satoshi Nakamoto remained anonymous. Doing so, I think it allowed the idea to stand for itself. As someone who has very little cryptocurrency, I do appreciate the idea, and I'm not one person who's like opposed to cryptocurrency, for the record. Um, Hello, Darkness Night. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so yet. Let me know how you're doing. No idea. Uh, Carthagane, I have no idea who he is. I don't think anybody knows who he is, to be honest. I think we need to be really careful to not speculate. If we don't know, we don't know. Which is good enough, not knowing, you know? If we don't know, we don't know, which is good enough to not know, you know. What a sentence that was. What a sentence that was. You cannot elaborate about the first, second, and third degree because it's not your place. Join Freemasonry, talk to your lodge. Now, you can ask general questions, but what I always say about the first, second, and third degree, and every degree within Freemasonry, is I've never seen anything within Freemasonry that is illegal, immoral, or that is against one's civic, religious, employment, or other responsibilities. Beyond that, if you want to join Freemasonry, or if you, I don't want to spoil any potential secrets. I want you to join Freemasonry and get the full experience without any spoilers. Yeah, I love scary movies. I love reading. I love professional wrestling. I'm getting to enjoy working out a lot more as well. So yeah, I guess those are my personal passions. My favorite song is Simple Man. My favorite movie is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 or Part 5. Um, my favorite author is Stephen King. My favorite book goes back and forth a lot. Could be Don Quixote. Could be um, The Long Walk, very often. Could be Colorado Kid. Welcome from snowy Sweden. The FBI files repeat. Thank you for being here. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. I love cereal. Consider doing a super chat. Okay, what's your favorite Stephen King book? Poke Dream Lab. No idea. Karthik. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he was Japanese because so many of the early purchases were made in Japan, but I have no idea. It could have been all just very smart way to make people draw people off of the course, right? Misery is a great one. They actually did a production of Misery at the Windsor Masonic Temple. It was really good. I mean, maybe one day I will. I'm still young. I mean, I know I'm 42 and that's older, but there are some of my favorite celebrities have started families in their 50s. So we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. Just wasn't in the cards for me yet. We shall see. If you want to help me be able to start a family, you're going to need to give me some super chats and buy some of these gifts. That would help out big time. And consider becoming a Patreon member. That would help big time as well. But let's give it some time and wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for being here. I hope you all are having an excellent day. I do not know why. I mean, I will give you what I think is the answer, but my assumption is you're going to give a more negative possible connotation or answer. But my belief would be that he wanted the idea to stand for itself because if you give an idea, but you also explain who you are, the danger of that is people will start to judge the idea based on. So, for example, let's say he was famous for being more right wing or left wing. People will judge the idea as being right wing or left wing, as opposed to how they should judge it, which is on its merits alone. And I personally think it's a good idea. I'm one of the, I know a lot of people are nervous about the idea of cryptocurrency in general. I get it. But for me, I think there's a lot of obvious potential benefits to it that are worth exploring. Whether I was gay or not, would it make a difference to being a Freemason or to this stream for that matter? All right. Do I believe in. Yeah, I just banned him. He's just. Sometimes you have to deal with these people. I had to report him. Harry White. It's one of those things, unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do about it. So I can't speak for the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran teaching the same thing about the architect. I mean, because I don't know enough about the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran to say if they teach the same thing about the architect. To my knowledge, they don't. They teach different things. Second, it's not ranks within Freemasonry, it's 3 degrees. Entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason, but Freemasonry is more than simply those degrees. There's a lot of different aspects and elements to Freemasonry, which you need to keep in mind. So, Freemasonry, the foundation of Freemasonry is the first 3 degrees, without question. Entered apprentice, fellow craft, master mason. Without that, Freemasonry would cease to exist. However, there is a lot of other really cool things within Freemasonry. There's youth groups, there's Scottish Rite, there's York Rite, there's De Molay, there's Shrine, there's our buildings themselves, which have fascinating histories as well. I don't know. It's sad people who have very sad lives. Bitcoin is the greatest invention of the century. I mean, I don't know if I would say Bitcoin is the greatest invention of the century. I would need to know more about when certain medicines came out, like insulin, vaccines. However, Bitcoin is certainly a very important invention. There's no question about that. And the decision to remain anonymous was pretty incredible as well. Because again, it allowed for the it allowed for the I don't know what the word is. It allowed for the idea to speak for itself and not find itself trapped by, or not find itself judged by, for example, the individual and any beliefs or baggage he may have carried with him. I mean, yeah, look, I'm not a huge fan of Donald Trump by any means, but absolutely Donald Trump, even you would have to admit Donald Trump did some good things. There's no question. And that includes making it cheaper for people to buy medications. Now, I don't think he made it significantly cheaper, is a whole separate issue. And I also think he misrepresented how much and how many drugs and medicines would be made cheaper. But even if he made a single substance cheaper, that's still a good thing. I just don't think it balances out against all of the bad things he did. That's the other thing you need to keep in mind. It's not just about the good things you do, it's the good and the bad. You have to balance that out. And I would say, in my opinion, I don't speak for Freemasonry, but in my opinion, there's way more bad than good at the moment with Donald Trump. I don't even think it's close. That's for me. Take it for whatever it's worth. And we're just going to keep waiting to see who joins. I mean, I guess people can decide for themselves what they want to call him. What I will say is, I think passing gas is generally a good way to think about this thing called this thing called politics and its effect on Freemasonry and its effect on the world, right? You can be, you imagine you're in a room with 100 other people. You may think to yourself, if I simply pass gas in the corner of the room, no one will notice. Sooner or later, that spreads and everybody smells it. America, this idea that America or any country can just do whatever it wants and nobody else will be affected by it is simply not the case. Whether you are America, Canada, any other country, what you do affects the rest of the world. It's like passing gas. It doesn't just stay on your side of the room. And sooner or later, the bigger the country, the bigger the gas it can pass will be. So America, it's a lot more gaseous, shall we say, in terms of politics. No, I mean, I don't. Political violence is not good, period. I agree with that. Murder is not good, period. I agree with that as well. There's better ways. Well, I'm not American, but we were discussing simply the best invention. I would say vaccines, which are invented, are far, I would say, are more important than Bitcoin. Um, I mean, to a certain extent, as much as you can, that's the case, right? I think, unfortunately, with politics, there's always going to be an element of getting, for lack of a better term, sucked into it. I mean, we cannot separate, I've said it a million times, you cannot separate the condition of a Masonic lodge from the condition of the country, the city in which it's located, and um, that includes the political situation as well as anything else. No, I do not. Again, I speak exclusively for myself, but no, I do not. I think it's exactly what we think it is, which is, or exactly what the evidence points to, which it was, I forget the gentleman's name, but the accused name, but it was the accused person who did it, is my, at this point, my best guess. Obviously, there'll be a criminal case and he'll be found guilty or not guilty, and you go from there. But I've never been a big fan of or a believer in conspiracies, whether it be about Charlie Kirk or anything else. And we're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Once again, if you're new to the stream, please hit like, please hit subscribe. And we're just going to wait to see who else jumps in on the chat to say hello. Anything you guys want to talk about? Positive, negative, or neutral? Really, it doesn't have to be about Freemasonry per se. It can just be, like I said, about anything you guys want to chat about, really. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I don't know if losing your dad is made better or worse. I mean, it just sucks altogether. What the effect of losing him in front of the whole world would be. I could see in some ways maybe the fact that there was such an outpouring of grief and support might make things easier in some ways. In other ways, maybe it makes things harder because it kind of feels like you have to share the grief with the world. I don't know. Either way, it would suck. So nothing but, you know, whatever you think about Charlie Kirk, his kids deserve a father, his wife deserved a husband. So I believe in a supreme being. To be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. I've said before, to me, the supreme being is the belief that is my supreme being is the geometric or is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through geometry and through science. Well, I mean, I'm sorry that you lost him either way. I'm also sorry he was a very bad person. I mean, I hope that never happens. People are pretty terrible, though, so it's always possible. But if that is happening, it should not be happening, just for the record. And we're just going to give it a bit more time. We're just going to wait to see who joins. Okay, then if you're grateful for the experiences, then you're grateful for the experiences. I'm sure you feel as though they helped turn you into the person you are today. And if you're happy with the person you are today, then good for you. And I wish you nothing but the best in future. Who is Caesar? I mean, Freemasons had nothing to do with it. I'm very comfortable saying that. But who is Caesar? Oh, on our stream? Um, well, I mean, he was just asking dumb questions I mean, he wasn't a troll. I think he might just be unwell, but it's unfortunate you deal with this stuff all the time. Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about. For a second, I thought you meant somebody else on the stream, like another, maybe like a person online, because unfortunately, there's a lot of people talking about um, Charlie uh, Charlie Kirk online, for better or worse, and a lot of wild conspiracy theories about it as well, which I wish was not the case. Hi, movie Iran the best? Um, I don't know, Zabula. You have to define a little bit better for me. I mean, I don't believe that there's like a force that is like I don't. So I definitely think that alignment and synchronicity, like from a geometric perspective, exists. Synchronicity can be a geometric understanding. Do you mean, do I believe that there's a force that makes all things align? I don't know. Maybe karma in some ways. Again, to me, alignment would mean living in accordance with nature. So if you are living in accordance with nature and you are aligned with nature, you will lead a virtuous life. Then get out of here and go to the washroom. Um, Yeah, but you also have to be understanding that just because you're asking questions, you need to be really careful that you don't listen for the answer you want or don't accept answers or accept answers that may not be what you want, so long as those answers are proven to be correct. Ask yourself if they actually don't add up and make sense or if you just don't want them to. And also, why must thing why must things make sense, right? I feel like the fact that things don't make sense, some or things don't add up, is actually sometimes like it's nature. It's one of the most interesting things I read about was they were talking. This was a religious discussion, but it applies to a number of different things. They were talking about the four gospels of the New Testament, and I forget the names of them now. Mark, Paul, Mark, Peter, Luke, and John, I think. But they pointed out that each of those gospels had discrepancies and things that didn't add up between them. And a few people pointed out, including some atheists, said actually that makes them more credible because when people are lying in court, for example, they will find 100% agreement between both stories. That usually is a sign that they were lying because that's not how life works. Life is full of discrepancies and inconsistencies and mistakes. The mistakes and inconsistencies and the things not adding up tend to actually indicate a greater level of truth. It's when things are perfectly aligned and make perfect sense that usually indicates a lie. It means people created a story. Human life is messy. Human life is complicated. Life is messy. Life is complicated. Actions are complicated. They don't always make sense. They don't always fit into a neat package. Inconsistencies are usually more often an example of truth than a falsehood. Um, Study math and science. I agree. Three, we should study math and science. I think math and science are the way we understand the world and the way we understand ourselves. Um, there you go. So maybe imperfections show credibility. Maybe we should be more forgiving of inconsistencies. Speed, call police. I mean, if you want, we should always be willing to call the police if we have any concerns about anything. Um, so there you go. And we're going to give it a bit more time. We're just going to wait to see who joins. As always, please hit like, please hit subscribe. And thank you all for being here. I might get rid of him soon. If you're talking about masked Riddler, there's a good chance. No idea. I'm not a religious expert. I'm not a gospel expert. I'm just saying it was an example of the inconsistencies proving the credibility. Um, I mean, I am imperfectly human. I'm a human and I'm imperfect. I think by definition, we are all imperfectly human, unless somebody on the stream is going to tell me that you're actually perfect, in which case, hey, more power to you. You don't have to. It doesn't hurt. I would suggest probably philosophy is one of the better things you could study before going to law school. Um, I'm back. Well, I got taken out of the stream, right? My stream died. I don't know why. I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't let me resume. So I'm back on this stream. How's it going? Or back on a new stream. How's it going, Mr. Keeps? Sadly, as you were there this morning, you know Canada lost the sled hockey game, but that's okay. We'll come back. We got 4 years to get those gold medals back. Because it's, first of all, I've given this example a million times. Masonic degrees are private for a reason. It maintains the bonds of brotherhood. It also um, provides spoilers. I want people joining without spoilers. And your degrees are not the same as everybody else's degrees. So the danger is people will have expectations that will not be met. If you want to talk about the degrees in their relationship to the holy books, then by all means join a Masonic lodge and have a educational night. I don't understand why they are so bad lately. Who's so bad? What do you mean by so bad? Mr. Keeps. The real ghost face. If you found $1 billion and nobody will ever find out, what would you do? If I found a billion, like, how would I find $1 billion? I feel like, and how would nobody find out? I mean, I would return the $1 billion. I mean, I usually have a rule, which is if it's, so obviously, if I see somebody drop like a toonie on the street, I'm gonna let them know, hey, you dropped a toonie, pick it up, right? Um, if I find, I would probably say up to, like, if I find money just randomly on the street up to, let's say, $50, and there's no way to know where it came from and it's just floating in the wind, I'd probably keep it. Once it gets to, let's say, over 100, I would probably try to return it somehow. So that might mean if I find a $100 bill on the street, I might ask people around me, hey, is this yours? Did you drop it? Once we start getting to over $1,000, or even over, let's say, 500, I'm taking it to the police station. Even if it's just a bunch of bills in cash, that's going to the police station, and I'm gonna let them know to return it. Um, right? It just depends on, again, it depends on how easy I can. But $1 billion, there's no way I'm keeping that. That's getting, I guess, I suppose it'd be given to the police, and the police would contact the person who has lost it. I suppose the way I'd find it would be on like a USB stick or something. And if I found a USB stick, there's no way I'd plug it into my computer. I mean, that's true. I've never been faced with $1 billion. I once had a a teacher who talked about, human desire to live or what's best for us. And he said, if I was on the Titanic as it's sinking, I would like to think to myself that I would gladly give up the last seat on the lifeboat, and I would go down with the ship. But he said, part of me worries that what I would actually do is take a baseball bat and just start swinging at people to make sure I got on the lifeboat. So, you know, I guess we never know what we would do unless we're in that situation. But I would like to think I would do the right thing and return the $1 billion. I will say I've found much less than a billion and returned it to the person to whom it was owed. So, you know, that is true. A man of good character does have good character, regardless of him being watched. Character is what you do when nobody's watching, right? That's the famous example, famous understanding. Just plug it on a test air gap machine. I would be too. I mean, I don't know how to air gap a machine. I don't even know where you buy an air gap machine. I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to get some food. I'll be back in a second. I don't know what an air gap machine looks like. Or how an air gap machine works. Oops, got my jacket there. What is this air gap machine of which you speak? By the way, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I also got these really cool sour keys. That is true, user. I will admit, I do have no legs. I am absolutely the worst when it comes to my diet. I'm a hypocrite. I've said a million times, we as Freemasons should try to be healthy, and I do think we should. But for me, it's food that is my weakness. I tend to eat really, really badly. That'd be a weird thing to joke about having no legs. Well, I can't put it through the screen. So no, you cannot have some of this because this is my food. You're on your own. Unless you go to Shoppers Drug Mart where I purchased these. It's a PC. Yes, they are sour. So, see, Mr. Keeps, I am not an expert on technology, so I'm about to ask you some questions, and it's going to sound very dumb, but keep in mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. What if I just took my computer and just turned off the internet and turned off the wireless and the Wi-Fi? Then would my computer be air gapped? It's vegan. There you go. Though I'm not vegan for the record. Like, why would... Oh. No, because turning off the UI doesn't mean anything. So when I'm not on stream, like, sorry, when I don't have the internet turned on, is it still connected to the internet? And can hackers still access my computer? But how can they access it if I'm not on the internet? Well, let Alexa listen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not too worried about it. I put all my stuff online at this point or in the cloud or whatever it is. So if the CIA is listening to me, then so be it. So then how much does it cost to get a air gap computer? Is it less expensive or more expensive? Because I feel like in theory, shouldn't an air gap computer be less expensive because it would have less technology in it? Or would it be more expensive because it's more secure? Well, it's Google's hard drive, right? Like I use Google Drive for a lot of my stuff. I mean, it's definitely worth thinking more about than I do probably because I've talked a lot about, we within Freemasonry needing to make sure that our no, not one at a time. Need to make sure that our physical buildings are secure, and we do, and we don't necessarily do enough work, I think, to make sure they're secure. But we also need to make sure that our information is secure online, right? Changing passwords, knowing what an air gap computer is, all that stuff helps out big time. Hey, these tips are important because I'm going to be doing, I do believe, a 24-hour live stream on the 21st of February again. It's been a while since I've done one. So I need to make sure I've got good snacks. So this is like a test run. There's no rebellion that started Freemasonry. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Bard Clay. Freemasonry started in 1717 or maybe 1634. You can kind of pick one of those two dates. What's the peasant revolt? I never heard of that. So maybe it is all made up. So that's way before Freemasonry, right? Freemasonry started, again, 1634 or 1717. I mean, I've been trying to be better about changing my password every few months now. I used to have basically a very similar, or I'm getting better with changing my password and having more variation between my passwords as well. So they're not all very similar. That seems like a lot of work, Mr. Keeps, and I'm very lazy. What do you want from me? So basically, you have to buy a computer and you have to modify it yourself and then put it in a room with some type of like Wi-Fi dampening technology around it. Well, born in blood is not correct. I mean, the Knights Templar and the Freemasons are separate groups and separate organizations. Now, Knights Templar predates Freemasonry, and then when the York Rite was developed, the Knights Templar was added, or not added, but the Knights Templar became basically the York Rite, the highest chapter within York Rite. I've talked about this before. The first time the connection between the Knights Templar and Freemasonry was made was by Chevalier Andrew Raymond in 1737 in a speech he made in France. He actually did not link Freemasonry to the Templars. He linked the Crusaders to Freemasonry, but that eventually became known as or understood to be the Templars. But for your purposes, you can't just buy a used computer that is your test computer. Plug all you want in it, and if it gets infected, you don't care, and just re-image it. That is true. I have no idea what it means to re-image. There is no doubt, and I like to think I'm a pretty smart dude in some things. When it comes, however, to technology, there is zero doubt that Mr. Keeps is miles and miles ahead, smarter than I am. No doubt at all. Salt and vinegar. I was going to get ketchup in honor of Canada, but I couldn't find any at the store. They're all sold out. I mean, some chill guy, I would suggest, and I'm sure your question is serious, because you never know for sure. Find people to talk to, because you can't do things of that magnitude alone. And absolutely, I think you can find people to talk to, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, whatever it might be. Part of that means you have to be willing to humble yourself a little bit and admit that you need help by contacting people to help you. You have to change the things in your life, the routines and the patterns that encouraged the drinking or the drugs or the behavior, right? You cannot expect to keep living the exact same life you've led before and expect your behaviors to not change. And then try to find a purpose. I suggest you may find Freemasonry or sports or movies or music. There's a million other purposes you can find. Take it minute by minute and day by day. That's also good advice. They're called crisp. I was just in the UK, right, said Fred. I was in there in November. Incredible place. Reimage is just like reinstalling Windows from scratch after wiping everything. Okay. So would you have to like purchase a new license for Windows? Like let's say you're using Windows. Would you need to purchase a new license for it um, after you were to reimage it? Not that I have a license. I mean, have a Chrome. I have a Chromebook. Whatever I got on it when I first had it is just what I use, and it works great. No, you don't. Okay. Nowadays, Windows keys are burned. All right, cool. So would you say how much of your time, like would you there we go. Would you like regularly re-image your computer anyways? Is that a safe thing to do if you're worried about getting viruses? Is it worth doing or is it too much of a hassle? Like, I'm not even sure what it would look like to re-image. I spend at least 14 more hours a day. That's too many hours per day. I mean, I do this for a living and I don't even spend that much time on the computer. I would suggest you reconsider how much time you spend on the computer. Go outside, touch grass, as the kids say. You're not saying nonsense. I mean, I just think you need to take it day by day, just like Mr. Keeps said. And if you do suggest re-imaging your computer, Mr. Keeps, how many would you say once every 6 months, once a year? Okay. Because I'd be worried you'd lose all your data and stuff, right? And everything you were working on. But I mean, I have it all saved on, again, Google Drive, Outlook, whatever it might be. Touch the sand, see Jeffrey. Touch the sand. When you think about advanced, I mean, I think it's incredible what we can do as human beings. I've said this before, you know, our technology, it's absolutely incredible what we're capable of doing. One of my favorite quotes, or not quotes, one of my favorite memes of all time, is somebody posted a picture of a cathedral and said, somebody posted a picture of a cathedral and said, why don't we build wonders anymore? And then somebody responded with a picture of an MRI machine and said, we do. And I always really loved that statement. MRI machines are incredible. This phone is incredible. My computer is incredible. We are absolutely continuing to create and build wonders every day. And maybe we should be more appreciative of those things. The ability to travel around the world, like I did last year, literally around the world, it's unbelievable. It can never happen. I like sour Skittles, Gooey. So you get your sour Skittles, and I will see you back here, I suppose, in a few. Hey, don't blame me. I got my good food here. I mean, I don't think either. In my humble opinion, I don't believe it was aliens or fallen angels. I just think it was us humans. I think we are actually incredibly talented, far more than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. If you make regular snapshots of the drive, you won't. That's where imaging is, putting back a snapshot of your computer, whether a base snapshot or specific time frame. Okay, here's a question, Mr. Keeps. Once again, I feel like I'm asking you for free tech support over here. Um, when I've seen like people on, um, well, it definitely wasn't boom. It was a lot more, I would suggest, or a lot less sudden than that. I've seen some YouTube videos where it's somebody talking to a scammer and they give the scammer access, like remote access to their computer, but it's not a it's like a virtual computer they call it. It's still their computer, but they call it virtual and they can't actually do anything on it. How does that work? Because that seems to me impossible. It seems like magic. Not that it wouldn't be fun to do a virtual machine. Computer, so it's like a rushing nesting doll. See, this all sounds like magic to me. For the time being, though, we're just going to wait and hang out. Well, I mean, yeah, but I think both right and you are incorrect. I think it was just humans. I think humans are capable of some pretty incredible things when we put our mind to it, or when we have a crazy pharaoh or other type of powerful person forcing us to do incredible things for his own kind of self-aggrandizement. I mean, for a little while there, this was many years ago, but I did go down this rabbit hole of watching like a whole bunch of those scammer reacts videos where they're just driving scammers insane. It was pretty fun. How many virtual machine servers are there altogether, would you say? Like if you were to take, let's say, a typical company, like I don't know, few hundred employees, are they running um, a significant number of virtual machines? I believe God could have a particular group that He seeded in the world throughout the ages to bring in the systematized advances and to steal the world in the direction He chose, observers of the earth. Only a tiny proportion of the world's population are capable of understanding and developing new. Okay, really cool. That's really interesting, Mr. Keeps. Like I said, Mr. Keeps is far smarter than I am when it comes to technology. Only a tiny proportion of the world's population are capable. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think human beings are capable of actually a lot of pretty incredible things, especially when you gather enough of them together. And, because I think intelligence has a tendency to scale not just geometrically, but exponentially, right? So, at least in my humble opinion. I mean, obviously, within Freemasonry, one of the things that we greatly care about is geometry, it's lifelong learning. It's incredible to see the way that humans, in some ways, first understood geometry and physics and then develop that and use that in the creation of human development. I'm going to move this light source a little bit closer. Once again, we're just hanging out. Let me know how it's going. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. No specific discussion points, just a hangout stream. Is that just because it's more cost effective to put it in the cloud than to run a virtual server? So do you expect, is that going to be continually possible, do you think, Mr. Keeps? Or will there become a point where the cloud runs out of space? I think, I mean, cloud won't run out of space as long as they have material to build data centers. Well, those data centers are becoming quite an issue, I will say. Um, a lot of people are a lot of people are worried about rising electricity costs, rising like just land use going to it, urban sprawl, or taking away space that could be used for parks or other housing. I think data centers are going to become a huge political fight in the coming weeks. Is that true? I'm gonna defer to Mr. Keeps on this one. Would you say that's the case, that all it will take is a massive solar flare? They are, because they are draining crazy amounts of everything, water, precious metals. I mean, and there's just got to be a limit to it too, right? Like by definition, there's got to be a point at which you can no longer build any more of these data centers. Just there's only so much precious metal, there's only so much water, there's only so much oil. Ronnie rocks, data centers require a lot of water. Is the water used to cool down the data centers? Like, is it necessary for cooling? I'm assuming. Do you think we're ever going to get a massive solar flare? I mean, the fact that we haven't had one yet, to our knowledge, although then again, maybe we've had one. I mean, for the first, what, up until we had electronic equipment, so let's say until the 1940s, we probably would never have known if we had a massive solar flare. Yes, the water is pumped into the GPU to cool it. Well, I mean, if that happens, we will sort it out. Who knows? Maybe people would prefer to go back to a time before electronics. I don't think so. I think people would not enjoy it at all. But hopefully we could rebuild. I mean, I'm sure that they've must have planned something, have some type of backups in case such a thing were to happen. Whenever I think of Freemasons, I think of Lois's dad from Family Guy. I did not know that the Freemasons were in Family Guy. Obviously, they were in The Simpsons, and everybody knows about that. I don't know if like how I feel uh, about that, because obviously Freemasons are not pompous old men, and we are not pulling the string of global governments. Having said that, I like to think we as Freemasons should be able to laugh at ourselves, should be able to make jokes about ourselves, and that includes, um, Family Guy type humor. So I guess it's okay. And I can assure you, I do not have an underground bunker. So if we get hit by a solar flare, or if there's some type of horrible humanity-ending event, me and every other Freemason is going to be right up here with the rest of you guys dealing with the suck, if you will. So very sorry to disappoint you, BC. Now, having said that, if there are any Freemasons watching this, or heck, it doesn't have to be a Freemason. If there are any of you watching this who happen to have a underground bunker, please consider letting me in. I assure you, I don't take up a lot of space. I'm a very good house guest. I'm not very clean, but that's okay. We'll be fine. I don't know any WEF members who are Freemasons. I don't even know, to be perfectly honest, who are WEF members. I couldn't actually I wouldn't be able to actually say who I think they are, but I don't know who the Trilateral Commission members are either, but none of them, to my knowledge, are Freemasons. If they are and they have a secret bunker, they've been holding out on me. I mean, in fairness, would you want to live in a bunker? Like, I guess if there was some type of cataclysm or catastrophic event and I had access to a bunker, I suppose, I suppose I would probably go into the bunker and just not think about things. But very quickly, my life would suck quite a bit. I mean, a future in which I'm alive in a bunker is not a future I would particularly enjoy. I'd rather us just get to the point where we will not need the bunker. How about that? That seems like a much better option to me. Um, and I've said this before, when it comes to Freemasonry, I genuinely think that maybe the more Freemasons that exist within the world, the better the better off we will be in preventing some of these cataclysmic events. I've given the example before, right? One of my favorite movies from last year was House of Dynamite. There was this scene where they're trying to stave off a nuclear war, a possible nuclear war, and an American and Russian government agent are talking to one another. And the American says, look, if we get this wrong, nobody is alive tomorrow. I always wondered, what if they had both been Freemasons, the American and Russian? Would they have trusted each other more? Would it have made for smoother communication? Because you have that basic foundation of commonality, common understanding. I have no idea. I would love to travel to Mars, Ronnie. I think traveling to Mars would be incredible. Or traveling to the moon, even. Oh, going with the Star Trek. I suppose if the nukes come down, then you will die very quickly. Well, I mean, to turn the sun into a Dyson sphere, though, don't they have to make it so big that the sphere would actually encompass the Earth, anyways? Right? Because the sphere would have to be pretty huge. Or couldn't you make the Dyson sphere like the whole solar system, going out to, I guess, formerly Pluto? Well, yeah, I've heard of it. It's where you basically put a hollow sphere around a star and you use the sphere to basically um, consolidate or control all of the sun's energy, all of the star's energy for, whatever planet it is or whatever civilization is using it. But I thought for it to work, the planet has to be inside the Dyson sphere as well as the star. No, it would just encompass the star. Okay, so basically it just funnels more of the energy from the star to us, as opposed to, right? We obviously get plenty of energy from the sun right now, but not, I don't know what the percentage would be. The amount of energy, usable energy we actually get from the sun presently without the Dyson sphere would probably represent, I don't know, 5% of the sun's total energy, something like that would be my assumption. I mean, BC, I have never been one who believes in things like globalists or New World Order or Great Reset. I think that's all a bunch of baloney. Having said that, I think if we want to avoid the collapse of society, including a World War III, pandemic 2.0, et cetera, type of collapse, then I would say we absolutely need to improve and increase our civic infrastructure and civic society. And that includes and is not limited to having a greater number of Masons in the world, but also within that context, having a greater number of Knights of Columbus, having a greater number of Elks, a greater number of Moose, et cetera, et cetera. We need it all. So there you go. Right? Because these things are created ultimately by us not, I think when you have World War III, Pandemic 2.0, banking collapse, cyber attacks, it is ultimately the result of us not knowing one another and us not knowing who we are, right? When I say who we are, I mean, I need to feel as though my brother in a different country is still my brother, is still a shared humanity, and it still matters um, a lot to me whether he's okay or not okay. And I think Freemasonry reminds us of that. We're all humans. We all come from the same stock. We all share the same nature. We all have the same hopes. We all have families. We all love one another, love our families. We should hopefully try to love our friends, love the people around us. If we can be reminded of that and view each other as brothers, I think it's all the better. Hello, Underground Thomas. No more bowling alone, indeed. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please take a moment, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and thank you all for being here. And for the time being, let's give it a bit more time, see who joins. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I hope everybody's having an excellent, excellent day. In terms of things I have coming up, March 28th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Community Services Fair at the Windsor Masonic Temple. Free admission, please join. Also, on March 21st, I may be doing a 24-hour live stream. We shall see, but it'll be a lot of fun if we do it. So, we need better education. People teach us lies. I mean, I would say I'm less concerned about people being led to believe dogma and more concerned about people just believing nonsense. So I will take the dogmatic belief that 2 plus 2 equals 4, for example, over the, I don't know, over the ability to question whether the earth is flat or round or something. By the way, the earth is round. Our infrastructure is too reliant on technology. It's too easy for us to go back to Stone Age. But this system was designed so we can be reliant on the globalists for hope when hope is lost. The preppers and off-gridders were not joking. I mean, I'm not one who believes or would use the term globalists. I would hope, though, that if we ever start to risk or create the risk that, we're looking at a World War III type situation, I hope that we can, I guess, pull back. And I hope we do that by finding the common humanity within all of us. And to do that, I think what we need to do is create stronger civic institutions, including, but not limited to, Freemasonry, the Elks, the Moose, everything in between. If you want to honor my long streams, Roach, consider doing a super chat, just 99 cents, hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. Yeah, it is a longer stream, but you know what? I figured I had a free day today. Don't have a ton, so might as well stream, see about getting some people joining. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Thank you all for being here. What would be some basics that you would say we'd want to start with, Apple Tree? What are some basic morals that you would think we should start with? If you had to pick some. So that goes to the next question. What is a human and why do humans have value? I mean, I don't know, BC, how I feel about digital ID. I mean, all of our finances are digital as it is. Is it really that much more of a step to move into, let's say, digital ID? I mean, most of my finances, my money is all digital anyways. So that's one of those things where it gets kind of tricky, right? Like, how do you define what is quote unquote digital ID if all the banking is being done digitally anyways? If every time I come in here, I'm leaving another, having to put in another password, another whatever it is, it gets complicated. Oh, I saw that Black Mirror episode. Oh, sorry. Apple Tree. Basics will be taking back control. Bankers and super rich have to go. Epstein class needs to go. Enforcing digital ID is being planned. A human is anyone in the genus of Homo sapien. They have value because they are made in the image of God. We shouldn't discriminate on size, race, or social status. I don't disagree with any of that. I would potentially disagree with the idea that they have value because they are made in the image of God. I think they have value and they have equal value. I wouldn't use the term made in the image of God. I would say they have value because their biology dictates their value. So, for example, if I accidentally cut myself, or even purposefully cut myself for that matter, if I cut myself accidentally or purposefully, my body will try to heal the wound as best it is able. It will clot the blood. It will do all sorts of things to try and heal that wound. And the heart will continue beating for as long as possible until either, well, hopefully, the situation is resolved and I'm fixed up, or until it can beat no longer. And the exact same thing will happen to anybody else, everybody else. There should be a lesson in that. Our bodies recognize our value even if we don't. Even if we don't recognize that we're valuable or recognize that somebody else is valuable, our biology indicates that for us. Things want to live, right? I don't think so, Roach. Why would it all be subjective without God? I mean, Austin, I know that the United States has nuclear weapons. I think that's well known. I did not know the poundage. I don't know what difference it makes in terms of the size. I don't care whether it's a 1 pound or a 70 pound. I hope it goes away. I hope they're never used, obviously. I guess BC, we'll see what happens. Um, I think again, when it comes to the war, it's just my hope that everything ends as soon as possible and that no one else is hurt. There's been far too much loss of life, um, as is. So maybe the world should designate a country in the world that would. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I would like to think everybody would like to live in a moral country. I think that's human nature. Well, to give an answer to that, I point out Darwin's Order of Species. Without God, people use subjective. I mean, the issue with that, Roach, and obviously we're getting in well over our skis, is even with God, people use measures that lead to evil, right? Many people have used a supreme being, God, to justify evil actions. Um, One can justify evil just as much with religion as without. Right, but I would suggest people who do believe in God also do devilish things very often, and very often have the excuse of we had God on our side. That becomes a problem. BCC, I think you got to calm down a little bit there. Not that I don't appreciate you being here. I'm not one for conspiracy theories. I'm not saying I mean, I think the Iran war is very bad, and I hope it ends as soon as possible. I don't think COVID was a scam. I think COVID was a real thing that happened. It was a real pandemic. And I'm grateful for all the doctors and nurses and people who tried to stop it from, who tried to protect and save as many lives as they could, operating under what was very often some incredibly challenging circumstances. Um, well, I mean, I'm not going to necessarily argue or against who did more of what. I guess what I would say is I think it's possible to have a morality and have a very adapted and good morality or well-adjusted morality without necessarily resorting to the belief in a higher supreme being. User, I don't know about five. How many vaccines did I get? I think I got like six actually. Well, I got the vaccine itself, and then most years I've gotten a booster. Not every year, but most years. I'm still here, not glowing green. Well, I've got a bunch of them. I'm still here. Well, Roach, I mean, what I would say is, um, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, there is no ultimate objective time, and yet we're able to tell the time. So I guess what I'd say is I would view morality as relative, but I don't think relative means irrational or means it's impossible to tell the time or come to a correct moral understanding. Scott, well, no, I mean, I'm just hanging out. Honestly, I was streaming pretty much all day, so I'm just hanging out. But welcome, Scott. Thank you for being here. I mean, don't get me wrong, BC. I don't think you're incorrect. I think we should exercise. I think we should eat healthy. I think we should drink enough water, etc., etc. I think all of that stuff is incredibly valuable and important, and we should do it. Um, I'm always encouraging Masons to do those things. I'm a hypocrite. I'm absolutely a hypocrite. I tend to be the worst when it comes to eating well, or I don't eat well at all. I'm getting better about drinking enough water, but it's a separate issue. I also exercise pretty regularly. User, I have no idea. Freemasonry is not a religion. There are many Masons of many different religious beliefs. There are many Masons who I'm sure believe Jesus is coming back. I have no idea when. I don't think anybody knows, right? I'm not an expert, so take this with a grain of salt. But if I recall correctly, um, the Bible says something to the effect of no man knows how soon or when Jesus will come back. So I guess nobody knows. Austin says not in our lifetime. There you go. By the way, if you're just jumping on, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and I hope that you will consider super chat. 99 cents helps out big time. Same way you can tell time without an objective morality, right? Without an objective time frame, I think is how I would do it if I was an atheist, right? Um, so you can recognize that you can use your basic biological framework to recognize that you have a value, right? Everything from the fact that our heart continues to beat to all the ways our body tries to keep us alive, even when injured, as well as tries to keep everybody else alive, even when they are injured. That basic biological fact indicates that we have a value, if in no other way than biologically speaking. If I put my hand on a hot stove and pull it away without thinking, it's because my body and my mind recognize something even before I do consciously, which is I have a value. If you then consider I have a biological value, anything that can be done that will improve or protect that value, not simply in a selfish way, as in whatever I can do to stay alive and screw everybody else, but rather in the realization that my genetics are in my future, in my family, my cousins, my nephews, even if I don't have kids, there's a lot of people who I am reliant upon to carry on my genetic code and this part of me that is truly so valuable. So I should be able to find and think about ways to improve the good for all of humanity. And case by case, it's going to be different, right? But it's absolutely possible for in any given situation and any given scenario for two people or three people or four people to come to a rational understanding about what the best and most objective solution is and the most moral solution is to how to preserve human life and how to advance it forward. It would make no sense for me to have to be valuable as a human being, to have valuable genetic code and not show any interest in seeing that extend 50, 100, 200, 300, 400 years in the future. To do that, I need a working civilization. I need a working society. Um, no, Roach. Time is relative. Check out, review Einstein's theory of relativity. I mean, we think of time as being objective because the speeds at which and the gravitational forces at which the relative effects of time become obvious are so great that we don't notice it. But a second for you and a second for me are not the same, especially if I'm moving in relation to you, right? That's just, they're different. But yet, practically speaking, we can tell the same time because 99.9% of the time, it's obvious how the best way to measure time is. Just like with morality, 99.9% of the time, it's obvious the best way to study morality. Why am I more valuable than a goldfish? I'm more valuable than a goldfish because I am me and I'm within my own sphere of existence. In the same way, another human is more valuable to me than a goldfish because they are a human and I recognize they're part of my species and I want that to continue. I'm sure the goldfish would argue that the goldfish is more valuable than me, but I don't think I'm any more or less valuable than a goldfish. In the same way, I'm not any more or less valuable than a lion, which is why I don't judge a lion harshly for eating me. I wouldn't try to put myself in a situation where the lion will eat me. But the point is, I would say I'm an animal like anything else. I'm as valuable as anything else and everyone else and every other animal. But in the same way, I don't judge a lion for eating, a gazelle. I wouldn't judge a human, or myself included, for eating a cow. It's in our food chain, you know? Why do all the stars do symbolism? I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, Freemasonry is not Faustian. We're not making deals with the devil. I'm aware of one or two musicians who are Freemasons. That's it. I think you're reading a lot into a bunch of nonsense, Zebulu. I've never seen, you know, stars of any sort, musicians or otherwise, making quote unquote Masonic signs. I mean, if you define the soul as that part of me, the way I define it, that part of me which is unquantifiable and yet equal to everybody else, then I think that's what the soul is. And that does not give me value, that gives me equal value to everyone else. So, what I mean by that is, um, you know, for most human beings, we are quantifiable, we are measurable, and we're all different. So, for example, I am a different height than apple tree or roach. I'm a different weight, different eye color, and all these ways that you can measure, I'm different. However, in the one way that you cannot measure, which is my inherent equality, um, we're the same. And I think that's what the soul ultimately is. It is that completely unmeasurable, unquantifiable aspect of being human that is equal to all others. No, BC, I've seen a million examples of people on social media claiming they have seen a politician or a star make a Masonic hand sign, only to then actually recognize and look at the sign and realize it's not a Masonic hand sign. It doesn't look like any sign to me. I mean, I've seen people say, on social media that somebody just rubbing their eye is a Masonic hand sign, as opposed to maybe they were just had an itchy eye. Um, no, I'm talking about the symbolism celebrities. I mean, again, I've never seen this Masonic celebrity symbolism stuff. People keep telling me it exists. I never see it. Examples, not the case. Well, I think we could judge everything as equally valuable, but even if we judge ourselves as more valuable than anything else, we should also be smart enough to recognize that what we're not actually judging is our physical self to be the most valuable. It's our genetics, it's our code, it's what makes us humans. And we should want society to continue because we should want our genetic code to continue. Um, The all-seeing eye symbol is not a uniquely Masonic symbol. It existed by the Eye of Providence, the Eye of Ra, and also rubbing your eye is not the all-seeing eye symbol. Nor is this, for that matter. People keep telling me this is a Masonic symbol. It's not. I've never seen any Mason make that symbol. And I've been a Freemason for 20 years, or just about 20 years. I've I've been lucky to be one. I've been to over 1,000 Masonic meetings all around the world. Never seen any of these quote unquote um, um, Never seen this as a Masonic symbol. Oh yeah, all-seeing eye is. I mean, the Eye of Ra, for example. This, I mean, that just means quiet. That's not Masonic. I mean, I was doing this when I was 5 years old to tell people, shh. I mean, I do that in shower, like if you're at a show or something, right? You're at a movie theater. You have people doing this all the time. I mean, it was from Egypt, um, for sure. Right? The all-seeing eye was called the Eye of Ra, Eye of Providence. It's from all sorts of different places all over the world. I mean, the postman always rings twice, right? That's that idea I talked about before. It's about fate. It's about not being able to get away with things and also not wanting to get away with things. Recognizing that just because you can, quote unquote, get away with something because you think nobody's watching, that's not the case. That's not how it works. I have not read the Book of the Dead. When I hear that, I think Necronomicon, and that makes me think of Evil Dead. If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? Yes. Just because we cannot hear it doesn't mean it does not make a sound. As long as there is oxygen and air within the forest for the sound to propagate, then yes, it makes a sound. Well, yeah, whether Scott Cooley, whether Freemason, whether Aleister Crowley was or was not a Freemason, I mean, it's debatable. He was certainly a clandestine Mason. He famously said he joined Freemasonry in Mexico, but I don't think any lodge has ever been recognized or recognized him officially. I don't even think there ever was a name of that lodge. So he was almost certainly a clandestine Mason, but not a legit Mason. Hello, Kazan. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Nothing's wrong with enjoying nature. Nothing's wrong with being in the woods and listening to music in the woods. The chicken. The chicken came first because it evolved from other birds. It evolved from dinosaurs, I suppose. Well, I think he also joined the Grand Orient, which again is not an accepted or is very often considered irregular. I mean, eggs are delicious. Eggs are awesome. Not as much as we should, Nam. I would love it if we as Freemasons spent more time in our lodge meetings dedicated to philosophy, dedicated to philosophical um, discussion. I think it'd be really fun and really cool. I don't think we do it enough. Um, Part of the thing is so much of time within Freemasonry is spent on, it's the challenging but important elements of running a Masonic lodge. The finances, the correspondence, the minutes, the visitation, the millions of things that must be done to create a successful um, organization, be it Masonic or otherwise, any civil or civic group. Evolution isn't real. Jesus is Jesus made the chicken for it to lay. Well, Kazan, I personally believe in evolution. Now, This channel is about Freemasonry. Every Mason will have his own views on what they do or don't believe. But for me personally, little old me, I believe in evolution. I think you can believe in evolution and believe in Jesus and be Christian. I don't see why not. And for the time being, we're back to just hanging out, waiting to see who joins. We're going to go with the animal the chicken came from. Can you read the chats out loud, please? That's a good idea. Do you guys do rituals at your meetings? We do. I'm not a huge fan of the term ritual, even though most Masons would call it that. I prefer the term ceremony, or ceremonies. I think it's a little bit more accurate. But yeah, for lack of a better term, we do rituals. There's a ritual when we open, there's a ritual when we close. There are rituals when we have new Masons joining and advancing through the degrees. It's a very valuable thing, ritual, and it's not unique to Freemasonry. It's valuable across the board. The value from ritual is creates a bond through shared experiences and shared knowledge, but also, and I would argue more importantly, it's a great way to kind of set a barrier, not a physical barrier, but a mental barrier between before lodge and during lodge and after lodge. So you're coming into a lodge meeting, you're coming from work, you're coming from family, you're coming from a medical appointment. You are coming from the world with all of the problems and the issues and the challenges and the unfinished business and the work that needs to get done. Maybe you're stressed because you have a medical issue. Maybe your kid has a medical issue, heaven forbid. Maybe you have your work is piling up. Maybe you have financial problems. Who knows what it is? Maybe there's something you're really excited for that's coming up. Maybe there's good news. But either way, you want to find a time and take a moment to step out of that and focus on the lodge and the meeting and what's going to come at the meeting. An opening ritual that you do every meeting is a great way to kind of tell the mind and the body, okay, those problems or those exciting things or those whatever that exists within the world, those will still be there when we leave this place. Those are still there, but for the next hour and a half, for the next 2 hours, our focus is on Freemasonry. And that's what we're going to focus on. And then same thing with the closing ceremony and a closing ritual. It's a way to say, okay, we're done with the Masonic aspect of the day. Now we're back to the real world. What benefits are there to being a Mason? Husafel, every Mason would have to answer that question for themselves. There is no single benefit to being a Freemason. It's every individual Mason. For me, it makes me feel closer to my family, makes me feel closer to my grandfather, who was a Freemason, who passed away before I was born. But being a Mason makes me feel closer to him. Also, you develop certain skills. You develop memorization skills. You develop conflict resolution skills, meeting skills. You learn how to run a meeting. You make friends you would not meet otherwise. You're part of a traditional group. If you like history, you'll love it. There's a ton of value to being a Freemason, or benefits. It's just every Mason decides for himself what it is, right? And what they hope to get from it. For me, the ultimate benefit of Freemasonry is I believe that it puts me in a privileged position to try to make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. No, because we don't do illegal things in the lodge, so it would not need to be raided. In fact, if the police ever wanted to check out the Masonic Lodge, they would be welcome to just check out the Masonic Lodge. In fact, we're going to be having the police present on March 28th at our community services fair, which will take place March 28th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Windsor Masonic Temple Ballroom. The Windsor Police will be present. Um, so, Apple Tree, I never discussed the rituals in detail because, for a variety of reasons. What I always say is, I've never seen anything within any Masonic ritual that would be considered illegal, immoral, or against one's civic, religious, familial, or other responsibilities. Beyond that, part of joining Freemasonry is a leap of faith. There's a beautiful thing to that, right? You get to know the brothers, you get to know the lodge, you go out with them for breakfast, you go out with them for lunch, you hang out with them. But at the end of the day, part of joining is a leap of faith on both parts. You're taking a leap of faith by joining Freemasonry, and the lodge is making a leap of faith in letting you join. Um, no, none of that is true. You were told nonsense, Gooey. I have an Android. I mean, I joined about 20 years ago, at which time I think there was still a little bit more memorization skill and ability. But I would also say I definitely think memorization is a really incredible and really valuable skill to have. I think the fact that within Freemasonry, part of advancing from one degree to the next involves or requires um, memorization is actually one of its greatest strengths. The top cops are not Freemasons. I've met a couple of Freemasons who are police officers, also a bunch who are plumbers. Um, so there you go. No, BC, you are incorrect. I mean, when you say that are hurt, please hit like and subscribe, is, I mean, what would you say is the philosophy of the fraternity? I've, I mean, I don't think there is a singular philosophy to the fraternity. Again, in the same way, no two Freemasons will get the exact same benefits from Freemasonry. And in the same way, no two Masons will have the same exact beliefs about it. I don't think you can say there is a consistent philosophy. There may be consistent ethics amongst Freemasons, the value of teamwork, the value of tolerance, the value of respect, the value of tradition. All of those are kind of ethical considerations. But there's slogans like to make good men better, brotherly love, relief, and truth, and those are all valuable ways to describe it. But my philosophy of what it means to be a Freemason or what Freemasonry is may not be the same as the guy next to me. No, I am not. I mean, if I was allowed to, I wouldn't do it because it would be wrong. It's not my place. It's not my place to expose other Freemasons. They have the right to let people know or not if they're Freemasons. I shouldn't be telling people who is and who isn't. But also, the privacy of the ceremonies maintains the bonds of brotherhood. That's like asking, could I take my family recipe and put it online? I could, but I wouldn't because it's the family recipe. It's meant for the family. Um, no, BC, we use lights, electric lights. Now, there are some lodges who have absolutely will have nights where they will light the lodge completely in candlelight. I've actually been to 5 Masonic lodges where they used candlelight. Um, so, um, it's one of those things where it's a really cool thing when you see a lodge lit completely by candlelight. Um, I think it makes the lodge look incredibly beautiful. Um, but it's not a common thing. Even in lodges where they use candlelight, it's not like it's done at every meeting. Usually they'll hold a special candlelight degree once or twice a year. Because if you do it every meeting and you use candles every meeting, it stops being special, right? Ah, for fuck's sakes, Nam. You heard me give the answer like 3 times already. At this point, you're becoming a troll. I'm not hiding anything. It's no different than having a family recipe. I don't want to share the family recipe because I want that recipe to remain within the family. Because that way it helps maintain the bonds between the different generations of the family, past, present, and future. Freemasonry is the same way. Maintaining the secrecy or the privacy of the rituals helps maintain the bonds between past, present, future generations. If you want to know the secrets, join a Masonic lodge and stop pretending like I didn't already answer your question many times. Um, I do not know anything about purple candles. I don't know what that means. But again, I have seen 5 degree nights with candles. One in, actually two in Bogota, Colombia. Um, one in Michigan and one in Illinois, if I recall correctly. So I guess that'd be 4 altogether. Um, I mean, I've never heard of any tunnels under the Irish Parliament, so it seems very doubtful to me, but okay. Um, I mean, it's possible that there's underground tunnels. I wouldn't be shocked. I've never been to a Masonic lodge, I can think of anyways, that has underground tunnels. Now, um, what I will say is, many of our Masonic buildings are quite old. So the 2 great boom periods within Freemasonry were in the 1920s and the 1950s. So most Masonic buildings that are of a particular size date to the 1920s or the 1950s. When I talk about the 1920s, I'm speaking of Detroit, Detroit Masonic Temple, Windsor, Toronto, Chicago, um, um, Bay City, Hamilton, if I recall correctly. And so the point is, it wouldn't shock me because these buildings are over 100 years old at this point, if some of them absolutely had within um, underground tunnels, but I've never met any or seen any that do. Well, I can be a good guy and a Zionist. I don't think the two are necessarily opposed. Well, not all Freemasons have the same ritual, apple tree. Freemasonry is decentralized. There is no single governing body that like controls Masonic ritual or ceremony. So I could visit a lodge in Texas and it's a completely different ceremony than what exists in Ontario, for example. Um, the same as what? Because no, it's not BC. That's what you don't understand. What do you mean by the same? The ritual that is in my dad's lodge in Manitoba is different than the ritual that is in my lodge in Windsor, Ontario. So you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, brother Courtney, I'm having a good time hanging out. I'm gonna be ending this stream soon, but I mean I've been streaming for the whole day, so I figured why not keep going. It's getting more the real ghost face. I've banned 2 people on this stream so far, so it's getting significantly more. I forget, but I'm sure there was a reason. So think about the last thing you said on the stream, and that's probably the reason you got banned. Well, I don't want to have the devils rule the world. I do believe that, the country of Israel, as it exists at present, anyways, I'm comfortable with it continuing to exist. I'm a two-stater. That's my own personal opinion. Every Mason will have his or her own opinion on what they believe politically about that situation. But I can say, you can judge it however you want. I'm not going to go back and check them. Whatever you said, don't say it again. Um, what is the first Masonic work? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean the first Masonic work I ever read? Or do you mean like the first, like the oldest Masonic document that you could review? Which I think there's a couple older, but the oldest English Masonic document is called the Regius Poem. It dates to about 1390, give or take. That is true as well. I mean, to my understanding, when I define it, Zionism means, for example, if you're a two-state solution person, then you'd be a Zionist, right? I think. That's how I would define it, anyways. I mean, to me, the foundations of Freemasonry, I would probably go with the Regius Poem or the Regius Manuscript, which I believe dates to 1390, or give or take. It's a great document. I think every Mason should read it. It's one of my favorite Masonic documents ever. You could also argue the Anderson Constitutions of 1723 are pretty vital, but there's been many other, old charges. I forget the total number, but there's a bunch of old documents that are considered the foundations of Freemasonry. I mean, again, I've been to a bunch of Masonic buildings all around the world, never seen any underground tunnels, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, especially because not every Masonic building was built as a Masonic building. So, for example, like there's a Masonic lodge in Michigan that originally it was a opera house on the top floor, and the bottom floor it was a police station and a jail. It wouldn't shock me if it had some type of tunnel system to bring in prisoners from the courthouse, but now it's not used for that anymore. So there you go. Whatever it was, well, then you can't really apologize for it. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I have to go back and see what it was. But, think back to what you said immediately before, or if you ever get timed out, look at what you said immediately before the timeout and then don't say it again. So the foundations, I mean, honestly though, our hut, rut, if you want the best, if you want the best book to get the foundations of Freemasonry, check out, it's a really good book. Check out Freemasonry for Dummies. I'm not saying you're a dummy, but check out Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. It's a really great book, and he goes through a lot of the old charges and a lot of the foundations. It's really cool stuff. So I would recommend checking that out. Um, oh, yes. All right. Well, then don't ask that because for some reason there's a bunch of conspiracy theories online where people are saying you need to be circumcised to be a Freemason, which you do not. If I were to join Freemasonry and they were to ask one way or the other, I would leave. Um, and so whenever anybody asks that, they get a timeout because it's a silly, foolish conspiracy theory and it drives me crazy. Um, and I don't know why anybody would believe it, by the way. So that's a whole other can of turn. That's a whole other can of tuna. Why people would believe it, other than you want to believe it because you're foolish. All right, we're just gonna. No, Hitler was not a Freemason. In fact, Hitler did not like Freemasonry at all. Hitler banned Freemasonry. Several Freemasons were actually sent to concentration camps. And I've done a few different streams about this in the past. The Freemasons that were sent to concentration camps. There's actually one Masonic lodge that started in a concentration camp. Cherished Liberty was a concentration camp out of the Cherished Liberty was a Masonic lodge that was formed by 7 Belgium Freemasons in the Erstwergen, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, concentration camp. So whenever anybody talks about or says like, oh, it's so tough to be a Freemason in 2026, just keep in mind in 1939, 1940, when they were being sent to concentration camps and they still managed to have meetings, which is a credit, I believe, to the craft as a whole. I don't have paymasters. I don't get paid to be a Freemason, right? So that's another misunderstanding. Freemasonry, we're not getting paid to be Freemasons. That's not how it works. Keep that in mind. And there is no Grand Lodge Master of each country. Freemasonry in the States, there's no Grand Master of United States or Grand Master of Canada. There's a Grand Master in Ontario, a Grand Master in Manitoba, a Grand Master in Saskatchewan, in Texas. It's state by state, it's province by province. Well, that's BC. You got to calm down. You're looking up way too much conspiracy theory nonsense online. You need to reconsider what you're watching. Because that is some baloney. I'm guessing controlled by the globalists. I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories. I think they almost always end up creating a lot more harm than good. Even real ones, all they do is, because a stopped clock can be right twice. So you may get something correct, but if you use faulty knowledge to get there or use faulty reasoning, just because it turns out to be correct doesn't mean the next one will turn out to be correct, right? Like, you need to care about and think about why you believe the things you believe and what your reasoning is, not just whether it turned out to be true. Yep, globalists, that's what I thought. Which doesn't seem to mean anything, to be honest. That's the concern, right? Globalist can mean anything you want it to mean. It could mean me, right? Like how you define what a globalist is. I mean, when it comes to fights, battles, wars, I don't think anybody will win, especially because the stakes are so high nowadays, right? This idea of like controlled opposition making sense, that just strikes me as crazy. The risk is so great of a nuclear war and what that could mean for everybody. I cannot imagine there being any benefit at all to even controlled opposition, even a controlled nuclear war. That seems crazy to me. Well, what I would say is don't tell him he's wrong in front of others. Tell him he's wrong privately, if you can. I mean, the challenging thing is it a situation where you need to tell him he's wrong right away? Because it's not just that he's wrong, like he's, I don't know, the way he's wrong is going to put him in danger, somebody else in danger immediately, and you need to deal with it. Like, how is he wrong is the question, right? So, Ron, I am a third degree Master Mason. I'm also an 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason. A degree is basically a level within Freemasonry. It's based on the old school stone Masonic guilds and trade unions, where you had your apprentices, your fellow craft, and your master masons. Your apprentices were brand new and they were learning. Your fellow crafts were workmen, and your masters were teachers. In the same way, within Freemasonry, we have different degrees to represent your progress within Freemasonry and your progress within the craft. Yeah, well, again, I'm not a big fan of JFK, of conspiracies. I mean, it's not to say they're never correct, it's just the way people think about them or how people think about them, I think is very dangerous. Because ultimately, right, it's the danger is even if you get it correct, if you're thinking like if I say 2 plus 2 equals 4 because the angels told me 2 plus 2 equals 4. I don't actually know how to do the work. I just made a lucky guess. Most conspiratorial thinking is just lucky guesses when it turns out to be correct, but it gives people confidence to make more guesses. And guessing about things like the truth is pretty dangerous. Um, well, thank you. This is not quite a 24-hour stream. This will be ending soon, but I will be having a 24-hour stream coming up, I do believe. So. For now, there's no need for to be mods right now. Maybe later, but I think we'll be okay for now. But I appreciate it very much. Well, no, no, you are not, but okay. Still, nonetheless, it's great to have you here. I hope you're doing well. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe to anybody who's here. I did a couple things on TikTok, but my concern was the way it seemed that there was always some type of like political situation or issue. I wanted to avoid it as a general rule because it just seemed too politically volatile, put it that way. No, not going to do that. I'll be ending this stream shortly, but I do appreciate everybody being here very much. Um, all right, guys. Yeah, I think we'll do is we'll end this stream. However, because I was going to go on for a couple hours. I ended up going on way longer than I thought, um, which has been a blast. Don't get me wrong. It's been almost 8 hours. Congratulations to the American sled hockey Olympic team for their victory. I now owe a bottle of whiskey and a commemorative coin to the Zion Lodge and to Michael Moore, but that's okay. It was still great to see. It was great to see so many people talking about it as well on social media. I thought that was awesome to see, and I'm grateful for that as well. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you all soon. I mean, I wouldn't say it's therapeutic for me. It's my opportunity to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession, right? That's the goal of this stream, is to create content and produce content focusing on Freemasonry. Um, um, as a way to turn my passion for into profession. I've talked about this before. We within Freemasonry, one of our instructions, and this goes all the way back to the Anderson Constitution, and even before, is to be respectful and follow the rules of the country in which we live, or in which we are passing through and visiting. Um, Financial crimes or any other type of crimes would not be respectful or honorable towards those rules and towards those laws. Now, if there's ever any Masons who are committing financial crimes, they should be, the police should be informed immediately. and they should be suspended from Freemasonry. I'm not saying there aren't bad Masons out there in the same way there are bad plumbers, bad football players, but within every group, you hope for the best from your membership and you try to create an ethical framework that encourages the best. I think has to be the rule. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I will see you all very soon. All right, guys, have a great night. Oops. If I could actually get this, there we go.